Yes, we normally read a little bit from Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita. We're on the last instruction, final lesson. Srila Prabhupada had heard of the program of his disciple Lokanath Swami, who was taking a small group of men on a bullock cart and preaching in villages throughout India. Lokanath had told Srila Prabhupada how in the course of their travels they had recently visited tirthas such as Badikashram and Bhim Kapur. Srila Prabhupada was enlivened to hear this, and he then evolved a transcendental desire to go himself on a cart pulled by bullocks to circumambulate the area of Vrindavan. While Krishna and Bhavananda, who were serving Prabhupada with increased intimacy, felt themselves unable to support Srila Prabhupada in his desire, since they thought his fragile body could not survive such rough treatment on the roads. Srila Prabhupada reasoned that dying on parikrama is glorious, and he asked them to take him. A controversy developed among the devotees, as some said Prabhupada's will to go on parikrama should be immediately honoured as an order from the spiritual master. He wanted it, and he should not be denied. The doctor, however, assured them that Srila Prabhupada's body would not survive the jostling of the cart. The many devotees who crowded around Srila Prabhupada's bed held different opinions, and Prabhupada could see this. Following his request, however, Lokanath went out and hired a cart with bullocks and prepared it for the ride. Lokanath and Hamsaduda suggested that the parikrama could go to the city of Vrindavan or visit the 7 main temples of the Goswamis, but then they said that since the next day was Govardhan Puja, Prabhupada could go to Govardhan Hill. Tamal Krishna, Bhavananda and Bhakti Chiru, however, protested adamantly against the parikrama. One day experiment, Prabhupada said, it is for one day. Rest assured, I will not die in one day. One day experiment. He liked the idea of going to Govardhan, and we shall make our cooking there, he said. Lokanath Swami, he assured them, was experienced. Make very good picnic, he said. Bear in mind, Prabhupada wasn't even eating at this point. After discussing back and forth, the devotees finally decided that early the next morning they would take Srila Prabhupada in a bullock cart to Govardhan. The majority of the devotees then left Srila Prabhupada alone for the night. Later that night, Srila Prabhupada received a visit from Niskinchana Krishnadas Babaji, who sat with Prabhupada chanting and sometimes speaking in Bengali. Suddenly, Tamal, Krishna and Bhavananda came to Prabhupada's bedside. They were in tears and beside themselves with anxiety. Prabhupada understood. You request me not to go? He asked. Well, Srila Prabhupada said, Tamal Krishna, I'll tell you, I'm getting so upset sitting in the room upstairs. I was walking around. 2 of the devotees told me that this road is so bad that if you go on this road, you're going to be jolted back and forth. The road is terrible. I just can't understand, Srila Prabhupada, why it has to be tomorrow that we have to go. If anybody wants you to travel, I do, but why do we have to go when you're in this condition? I can't understand it. Why are we throwing everything out the window that we must go tomorrow? I can't understand. All right, said Prabhupada softly, immediately agreeing to their proposal that he not go. Jai, Srila Prabhupada said back to Chiru, who was also present. Thank you, Srila Prabhupada, said Bhavananda with great relief. All right, you're satisfied? Now I am, Srila Prabhupada, said Bhavananda. Yes, I was in too much anxiety. Never mind, I shall not put you in anxiety. Actually, Srila Prabhupada, said Tamal Krishna, we're so much attached to you that you practically drive us to madness sometimes. Tonight we were becoming mad. No, I shall not do that, said Prabhupada. Babaji Maharaj, Prabhupada turned to Niskinchana Krishnadas Babaji and said, just see how much affection they have for me. Srila Prabhupada said, Tamal Krishna, the way you deal with us... Srila Prabhupada said, Tamal Krishna, the way you deal with us simply deepens our attachment every moment. It is my duty, said Prabhupada, and the devotees laughed warmly. Understanding, yes, they could understand that this was his duty. By all his actions and dealings, Prabhupada's intention was to capture spirit souls and deliver them to Krishna. His method was loving service, but he did not do it for himself. He was delivering to Krishna. That was his duty. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 4, entitled Hiranyakashipu Terrorizes the Universe. Text number 3. Number 4 has a purport, a small one. Okay, so I'll just do the first verse myself. Tato jagama bhagavan amoganugraho vibhu pujito sudavaryena stuyamana prajeshwarai. Translation. Then Lord Brahma, who awards infallible benedictions, departed, being worshipped by the best of the demons, Hiranyakashipu, and being praised by great sages and saintly persons. Okay, we can do this first together. Evam labda varo daityo. Evam labda varo daityo. Bibrad de mamayam vapu. Bibrad de mamayam vapu. Bhagavati akarod Dvesham Bhagavat Yakarod Dvasham Bratur Vadam Anusmaran Bratur Vadam Anusmaran Evam Labda Varodaityo Bibradde Mamayam Vapu Bhagavatya Karodvesham Braturvadam Anusmaran Evam Labda Varodaityo Bibradde Mamayam Vapu Bhagavatya Karodvesham Braturvadam Anusmaran Evam Labda Varodaityo Bibradde Mamayam Vapu Bhagavatya Karodvesham Praturvadam Anusmaran. Please chant. Any ladies like to chant? Evam, thus Labdavara, having obtained his desired boon, Daitya, Hiranyakashipu, Bibrat, acquiring, Hemamayam, possessing the luster of gold, Vapu, a body, Bhagavati, unto Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Akarot, maintained, Dvesham, envy, Bharatu Vadam, the killing of his brother, Anusmaran, always thinking of. Translation. The demon Hiranyakashipu Having thus been blessed by Lord Brahma and having acquired the lustrous golden body, continued to remember the death of his brother and therefore be envious of Lord Vishnu. The demon Hiranyakashipu, having thus been blessed by Lord Brahma and having acquired a lustrous golden body, continued to remember the death of his brother and therefore be envious of Lord Vishnu. Srila Prabhupada's purport. A demoniac person, in spite of acquiring all the opulences possible to obtain in this universe, continues to be envious of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Om Agyantamarandasya Gyananjana Slakaya Chakshunmalitam Yana Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Kam Kurati Vachalam Pangam Lagate Girim Yatkripatamam Vande Shri Jinataranam Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu-Nityananda Shri Dvaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. The demon Hiranyakashipu, having thus been blessed by Lord Brahma and having acquired the lustrous golden body, continued to remember the death of his brother and therefore be envious of Lord Vishnu. So we see this last line, Bharatur Vadam Anusmaran. So this word Bharatur, interesting that the word brother in English is related to that. We see remnants of the Vedic civilization, the Vedic, the Sanskrit language still present in the everyday English language and many other languages. This word Bharatur, brother, and it's for a long while this language of Latin was spoken quite widely, and it's considered a dead language, so therefore it's often used as a kind of reference point. With the English language, it changes. So, for example, if you get a dictionary from 100 years ago and you look up the word sophisticated, it means degraded. But if you look it up now, then it means something different. People think sophisticated means something advanced, something civilized. So sometimes word meanings can change. Like people nowadays use the word wicked to mean like something good, right? It just kind of shows you maybe perhaps it still is wicked, but they think it's good. So they have no terms of reference in material civilization. What is their terms of reference? Basically, vox populi. If everybody wants to do something wrong, then that's okay, we'll do that. Doesn't matter what the reaction is, we don't consider. As long as it gets us votes, which means we get in to power and then we can utilize the resources of the country to fill our own pockets. Is it anything else? And Prabhupada says that about these people who are attached to these positions, that they hold on to these positions until death or until they get kicked out. Because the material motivation is simply like they know that day by day, the longer they can stay in that position, the more they can accumulate. So even if they're only in that position for a month, like we had one prime minister who was only in position for a very short period of time. But even they forget that they're a servant. They think they're in charge. But they say they and do a few things which people don't like, and then very quickly they're removed. So Hiranyakashipu was such a powerful demon that nobody could oppose him. Nowadays we have people who are like little plastic Hiranyakashipus. Not even very good quality plastic as well. Poundland, yeah. Just like sometimes you go to a pound shop and you might get some tools and you go to fix something and you just go like that and it just breaks. And then what is it they say at the customer service desk? What do you expect? It's only £1. So this is Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga rulers they're pound shop rulers, pound shop leaders, No offense against anybody who's got any good qualities, but in comparison to the true Vedic leaders, then even if they have good intentions, they're so compromised because if they were to do the right thing, they would get kicked out in a day. So what a situation to be in Kali Yuga. So we cannot depend on simply the leaders leading us somewhere good, because even if they wanted to, they would be obstructed. They'd get frustrated. So therefore, it's up to us ourselves to follow this processes of Krishna consciousness. And we spread Krishna consciousness, and when more people become Krishna conscious, then the leaders will change. So having some kind of material revolution, how many times has that happened in the world? And it didn't really change anything, did it? You cut the head off of King Louis XIV, and what happens? Somebody else pops up who's just as ill-motivated, who's just as conditioned. So just like Ravan cut the head off him, another one pops up. So, but we have to get to the heart of the matter. When Ravan got the arrow through his heart, then it was over, wasn't it? So get to the heart of the matter is our own heart, first of all. People want to change the world outside, but they're not changing the world inside. And that's what really matters, because even if the world outside doesn't change, if your world is changed inside, then that's what matters to you. That's what's going to help you. And the more we can do that, and the more we can try to bring Krishna consciousness to other people, give them the chance. We shouldn't think, oh, people aren't interested in Krishna consciousness. Of course they are. They're eternal parts and parcels of Krishna. They've just forgotten Krishna, that's all. So our purpose in this movement is to remind them, trying to give them the opportunity to remember Krishna. And to do that, we have to be remembering Krishna as well. We can't be asking people to chant if we're not chanting. We can't ask people to read Prabhupada's books if we're not reading them. I mean, we can, and if they're sincere, it might happen, but there'd be some potency. For preaching, Prabhupada said 2 things are required. Does anybody remember any one of those? Purity, yeah. And we have to know the philosophy. Because if we simply have purity, then you may be full of all good intention, and you may be practicing very well yourself, but if we come across somebody who presents some challenge and we don't know the philosophy, then we may get defeated. But so learning the philosophy means reading and hearing. It's regular hearing of Srimad Bhagavatam. And if you hear Srila Prabhupada in action, he's never defeated. But sometimes you see some challenge and you think, oh, how's Prabhupada going to handle this? And just easily, without even thinking about it, just there, doesn't even skip a beat. So this is the potency of the self-realized soul, Uttama Adhikari, preaching on the Madhyama platform. But we can learn from that. He's very quickly elevating us because he's given us all the answers. It's just like, the professor, he knows the answers to the test, to the question, because he's writing the questions. He knows them all. He's heard them so many times. And he's giving us the answers before the test, saying, look, the test's coming up. Here's the answers. I'll make it easy for you. So when we go out preaching, or we find ourselves in a situation, sharing our Krishna consciousness, then people have got full of doubts. And this doubt is a sign of intelligence. So we have to feed their intelligence with the right foodstuffs. We had witnessed a very nice conversion. I don't mean rugby. But witnessed a nice conversion in the temple room here one time. There was one gentleman came along and he was an impersonalist. And one devotee, Srimad Govinda, was, I think it was myself, was giving class. But when this impersonalist started asking questions, I seen Srimad Govinda's lip trembling. It was like I could see he was like dying to have a go at him, or dying to rise to the challenge. So I said to him, Srimad Govinda, would you like to answer that question? So then he went into, first he started speaking English, and then it went into the native language, which was Hindi. And then after it, the man was changed and he was dancing in kirtan very joyfully. He didn't storm off, dejected or defeated or indignant or anything like that. And it was such a victorious thing in the whole atmosphere. So this is what the devotees can do. We can change people. They don't know any better due to a poor fund of knowledge. Prabhupada says that, it's like, particularly in India, many people know about Krishna, they know about the Vedic life, but sometimes they've heard some tainted version of things. So due to a poor fund of knowledge, they don't know any better. So we have the opportunity to give them that which is the correct version. And if people are honest, then they'll take to it. We're simply trying to give people the opportunity. But ultimately, they have the will themselves to accept or not accept. And we see here that Hiranyakashipu performed such great austerities no one knows, standing 10,000 years on the tip of his toes. Then he, but when he got Lord Brahma's attention, his darshan, he says, okay, now I've performed all these austerities, now I want this benediction. I can never be killed in the land or the sky, the indoors or outdoors, all these different situations. And now he was considering himself immortal. And he lived for a very long time, so long that he conquered over all the different presiding deities of all the different planets. There was no one who wasn't under his control, except for Vishnu. Because Vishnu is Ajita, he is not conquered. He's conquered by the love of his devotees. But because Hiranyakashipu was relating to Hiranyaksha as his Bharatu, his brother, and he was feeling that he wanted some revenge, then he was envious of Lord Vishnu. So despite acquiring all the opposites possible to obtain in this universe, a demonic person continues to be envious of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we come to this material world to enjoy separately from Krishna, and even if we become so influential that we consider ourselves to be the proprietor of everything, which is simply an illusion because Krishna is the only proprietor. It's simply just a matter of a thief has claimed ownership over something which he doesn't own. But when the police catch up with him, they put him behind bars and they take back off of him what he thought was his. So this happens with every demoniac person who thinks they've attained so much. They have become so wealthy, so influential, that who can equal me? And after a lifetime, there's a special punishment for that type of person. We see that if we read the 5th canto. We'll not go into it, but to have such an arrogant mentality where we just utilize everything and everyone for our own purposes, for our own ends, then that is such a demoniac spirit, because actually we are the servant of everybody, we're not the master of anybody. And when we think we're the master of anybody, we're not even the master of our own mind and senses. We're defeated by our mind and senses. So how powerful is that? Not very. But when we chant the holy name of the Lord, which is the mantra, the great mantra of deliverance, the Maha Mantra, then we become subjugated by this Maha Mantra. We become re-established in our eternal constitutional position of serving Krishna. Jivera Swarupahoy Krishnera Nitya Das, Krishnera Tatasta Shakti Beda Beda Prakash. So the different Shaktis are there. The Antaranga Shakti, the internal potency, the Bahiranga Shakti, the external potency, and the Tatasta Shakti, the Jiva. And the Jiva's freedom extends simply to which shall I take? The internal energy or the material or the external energy? Which shall I take shelter of? There's nothing else. Just like they say, there's nothing but Krishna, except for Maya, and that's also Krishna. So Krishna's external energy is also Krishna, but different. It's not one and the same. I've heard people saying, well, it's all Krishna anyway. That's okay. So when the bad reactions come, are we still thinking, oh, it's all Krishna's mercy? We shouldn't speak from our platform which we're not on. If we speak like that, we'll get tested on that. And then we get the opportunity to come to that platform or be exposed for not being on that platform, at least to ourselves. So because Hiranyakashipu was in this bodily concept of life, which is quite interesting because even though he'd practically given up his body due to his austerities, mainly he was preserving his life force within a skeleton. There's practically nothing there, but somehow he got a benediction to have a very lustrous body, and which was very suitable for his enjoying spirit. And because he was still in this bodily concept of life, relating to his brother who was killed by Lord Vishnu, then Lord Vishnu was his sworn eternal enemy. And he very much was envious of the Lord. And wonderful that Krishna's arrangement that a great devotee was born as his son, Prahlad Maharaj. And of course, we know the story that the demigods were so terrified of Hiranyakashipu already. They were thinking, we can't do with Hiranyakashipu and a son. We can't have a lineage of Hiranyakashipus. There's just no end to this inauspiciousness if we have that. So they were conspiring, what should we do? Shall we somehow or another terminate this? Although it was such a taboo topic. And Narada Muni appeared on the scene and says, my dear demigods, you cannot kill this person because even if you want to, you couldn't, because he's protected by Lord Vishnu because he's a great devotee. So that pacified them. We see Krishna here, he put a great devotee into the womb of Kayadu, isn't it? The mother of Hiranyakashipu. And therefore, that was already the beginning of the end of Hiranyakashipu. His lineage was such that within a few years, Prahlad Maharaj was exhibiting the signs of a great devotee. When he came home from school, his father said, my dear son, what did you learn in school today? Nothing. Just they taught me how to lie and cheat. And Hiranyakashipu says, well, that sounds fine. That sounds perfectly complete. And so he sent him off to school, and of course, during the break, then Prahlad Maharaj, he started a kirtan, and word got back to Hiranyakashipu, and of course, we know the rest of the story. It went from there, it escalated to the point where Hiranyakashipu tried in so many ways to kill Prahlad Maharaj, but Mare Krishna Rakike, Rake Krishna Marike. If Krishna wants to kill me, no one can save me. So Prahlad Maharaj was really in this mood, and if Krishna wants to save me, no one can kill me. So we see the example of Rake Krishna Marike. If Krishna wants to protect you, who can kill you? Hiranyakashipu, who was feared by all the powerful demigods, who were at least Maharathis, or much more, I guess they're demigods. They were in charge of material elements. But Hiranyakashipu couldn't harm Prahlad Maharaj. And then on the other hand, we see Mare Krishna Rakike Kamsa, right? No matter what he did, he couldn't avoid being killed by Krishna. So for anyone who's interested in self-defense, this is the best self-defense. Krishna, 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 hey. Krishna Rakshamam, Pahimam. So we take shelter in Krishna. And our faith will be tested in this regard. But if we just don't give up taking shelter, then Krishna gives that shelter. So sometimes people think, well, if I could just win the lottery. You used to think if you won £1,000, it'd be great. And then you thought if you were $1 million, but now $1 million's like, $1 million doesn't really sound like much nowadays. You can buy a house and a couple of cars, and that's about it. So you need like maybe 10 million, 20 million. That's inflation. And now there's so many billionaires. What's next? Trillionaires. But it doesn't matter how much they get. Still, it doesn't purify their heart. It doesn't make them any more secure in this world. In fact, sometimes people become even more miserable or less secure because the more you have to lose. The more you have to protect. As soon as you win the lottery, what do? You buy a big house. And then what? You build a big fence around it. You imprison yourself in it. And then you got to think, how to protect my money? As a brahmachari down in Bhaktivedanta Manor, I remember they started giving us an allowance. And I was just thinking, okay, now I've got to figure out what to do with this money. What shall I do with it? Well, the first thing I had to do is go and buy a wallet to put it in. I thought, this is just like unnecessary. I don't want that. I'd rather just be dependent on the temple. And then it started getting on my mind. Okay, I've got £30 this week. If I save up for about 10 weeks, I can get a set of Bhagavatams. But there's a set of Bhagavatams in the ashram. Okay, maybe I can get this or that. And then I went to the accounts and said, look, can we just not give me this? Because it was just, at that point, it was a distraction. Of course, we can use everything in Krishna's service, but sometimes it's also good just to go through that where we have nirmama. First principle of brahmacharya life is nothing is mine. And that's also the same for all of us as devotees. Just come to that understanding that nothing is mine. And then that means we're giving up the envy of Krishna. We're not thinking why Krishna has to have everything. But if you're part and parcels of Krishna, just like the son of the wealthy person, the son of the millionaire or the crorepati, he's also as good as the crorepati, right? He's got an inheritance there just waiting. And we see in Prabhupada's lifetime, sometimes, so many opulent things would happen. And he would say, Krishna's not a poor man. We don't have to take a vow of poverty to serve Krishna. But in our mind and heart, we understand that nothing belongs to me. So whatever's in my possession, that is my quota, according to Ishopanishad. Isavasimidam sarvam yat kincha jagatyam jagattena tirtena buddhanjita magriddaha kashasviddanam. Everything animate or inanimate that is within the universe is controlled and owned by the Lord. One should therefore accept it only those things necessary for himself which are set aside as his quota. And one should not accept other things, knowing well to whom they belong. Knowing well to whom they belong means that ultimately everything belongs to Krishna, and whatever comes our way is actually our quota for this life. And also knowing that other people's possessions are not ours. Sometimes people have this kind of hippie mentality that everything belongs to everyone, which is such a convenient philosophy to have when you've got nothing, and then you can avail yourself of everyone else's property without taking any responsibility to go and earn a crust for yourself. But it's funny how it still revolves around selfishness. It's not that it becomes selfless. It's like what's yours is mine, and what's mine is also mine. It's more like that. So we can't make some artificial philosophy and become renounced. The real renunciation is yukta vairagya. That we see everything in Krishna's service and we use everything in Krishna's service. Because Hiranyakashipu was considering himself the controller and the enjoyer and the proprietor, then he wasn't able to give up his envy of the Lord, despite the fact that he was the most powerful person in the universe. Whereas he couldn't even conquer a 5-year-old boy. He was a devotee of Vishnu, so he was the more powerful. So his blessings, sometimes a blessing can be a curse, and sometimes a curse can be a blessing in disguise. And for one who's Krishna conscious, then they can take everything as Krishna's mercy. And sometimes we go through some lessons which are difficult to see, but if we stick with it, then gradually the Lord starts to open our eyes. This verse, Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shilakaya Chakshur Unmilitam. The spiritual master is opening our darkened eyes. So sometimes he's opening them gently, and sometimes he's forcing them open. Because, if you're lying, say you're lying in bed, and you don't want to get up for school, or you don't want to get up for work, or you don't want to get up for Mangalarti, whatever it is, then someone may come in and turn the light on, and they don't do it so much nowadays, but you used to get some water thrown on you if you didn't get up for Mangalarti. That was what we all signed up for. And or sometimes someone will come and shake you. So they're forcing the eyes open. Or we have like Prabhupada's bhajans on a timer when it comes 4 o'clock or 3:30. My first night staying at the temple in Chaitanya College, I shut my eyes and I thought I'd practically just shut them, and then I heard something going off and it was Prabhupada singing. And I thought, what's somebody doing playing this in the middle of the night? And then everybody started getting up. It's like, no, it can't be true. Surely not. Okay, back to George, get up. Time for a shower and then Mangalarti. I think, no, somebody must have mistaken here. So we drag ourselves in. And they'd already told us, okay, we'll only take 3 minutes in the shower because there's 30 of us to get ready for in time for Mangalarti, and there's only 3 showers, so that's, they'd worked it out. Everyone could only have a certain amount. I thought, yeah, okay. And I was in there, and then my 3 minutes was up, and they were like, okay, come on, your 3 minutes is up. And I realised, these guys are serious about this. And it was quite good because although it was a real kind of wake-up call in many ways, then the next day, I'd really kind of decided, I wasn't going to have somebody harassing me to get out of the shower, at least for that. So it was very good discipline. And discipline is something which is lacking in life. People want things on a plate, but they don't want to do anything for it. The sense of entitlement is actually just such a destructive type of attitude. Because if we all have that, if we all feel entitled, then who's going to provide? And actually, Krishna is the one that provides to everyone. He's been fulfilling everyone's desires since time immemorial. Even the demons, he's fulfilling their desires. So if the devotee has a desire to serve as a pure devotee with and go back to Godhead, then Krishna will satisfy that desire because he wants that. Sometimes the demons will get a benediction, and even sometimes the devotees will get some benediction, material benediction, but the Lord's not so enthusiastic to give those benedictions. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, we learn that we learn that Lord Nityananda, he sometimes, because he's so grateful to the devotees for taking part in the Sankirtan movement, then even sometimes he'll fulfill their material desires. But the point is sometimes. But if one continuously goes to Lord Nityananda to satisfy those material desires, then he doesn't do that for them. And that's because he cares about the devotees. He doesn't want them going back into the whirlpool of material existence again. So, of course, there's this verse where we can approach the Lord, whether we have all desires, no desires, desire liberation, we should still approach Krishna. But it's not that necessarily we should just go there with our material desires and think, Krishna, just fill my material desires, that's all I want. Because Krishna may do that, but he may do it in such a way that we give up those desires. And that's because Krishna has undying love for the living entities, and we have dormant love there within our heart. So the Lord and his devotees come to the material world to try to ignite that spark of devotion in the heart of the living entities. And we see that finally, Hiranyakashipu, when he's vanquished by Lord Nrsingadev, then he's actually remembering his constitutional position. He's blessed by the Lord. Sometimes people think, Krishna is so cruel, he kills so many people. He even killed the cow, right? What was that one? Aristasura. It was a bull, wasn't it? So sometimes Krishna's criticized, but whatever Krishna does is all auspicious. He doesn't bring any inauspiciousness because he's the ever well-wishing, he's the eternal well-wishing friend of all the living entities. And everything he does is to give them the opportunity to come back to that original constitutional position again. So we'll just stop there. Anyone get any questions or comments? Blood is thicker than water. So if it doesn't really matter, does it, whether the person's right or wrong? It's his brother. So this is sometimes the case, isn't it?
His mother requested that he take revenge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right. And of course, it's all the pastime of the Lord. His enemy. But sometimes if people see Krishna as the enemy, they don't see his supremacy. Avajananti Mamudha. We think Krishna is some ordinary person or just some powerful person, but he's not really that powerful. He's just an upstart, and I'm going to squash him. He'll soon realise who's the real big deal. Good point. So just like we're reading Prabhupada Lilamrita, Prabhupada was heightening the anxiety of the devotees to increase their attachment, then Krishna will do that. Just like when Krishna jumped in at Kaliya Ghat, if you're in Vrindavan, you go to that place of the pastime of Kaliya, chastisement of Kaliya. So when Krishna jumped into the water, he didn't come up for a long time, and everyone thought he had dead, and they practically died of attachment and grief, thinking they could lose Krishna. And then just when they're about to die, then he pops up. So this is how the Lord performs his pastimes of ever-increasing transcendental bliss. 3 hours, you would have given up hope after like 3 minutes, wouldn't you? You'd think, oh, he's not up now, that's the end of it. Yeah, and that's sometimes what happens. It looks like Krishna might even lose the fight. And then just at the last minute, like with Hiran, with Nyamraksha. So it looks like, sometimes he was getting a few blows, but he was also insulting him. Like when he handed his mace back to him, right? He was insulting him, and he was, inciting him as well to become more angry. And then finally, after Krishna decided, okay, I've had enough fun, he just gave him a little indifferent slap in the ear and he was dead. So then Krishna, he can heighten the demigods like, oh no, is Krishna going to win? Is Krishna going to lose? Hopefully we can't have this Hiranyaksha winning. Krishna, Vishnu's our only hope. If he's done for, then what chance do we have? And then Krishna just shows him that very easily he can kill the demon at any time. He's just playing around. Yeah, this is the Lord's pastimes. He engages in these pastimes with intrigue. You look at the whole Mahabharata situation. It was wonderful pastimes of the Lord, displaying his own prowess and also glorifying his devotees and their attachment to him and their resolve to always take shelter in him. Okay, anything else? ISKCON Govinda ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande. Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki